everyone, I'm Emma, a certified dog trainer.
And I'm Kirsten, a certified dog behavior consultant.
And this is Dog Chats. Join us as we chat about dog behavior, having fun with your dogs, and building relationships. We will offer practical advice and a bit of humor. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 38. Today we're going to talk about dog parks, which is a hot topic.
Yes, will be very interesting.
Yes, we have views on both sides, the good and the bad.
Right.
And so we're going to go through those today and maybe give you some tips that if you do use a dog park, here are the things to look for. Or if you're thinking about using a dog park, maybe you'll go, maybe not for my dog after listening to our episode. Or you go, yeah, I think my dog would enjoy this.
Yeah, and I think the answer that I seem to be giving clients for most questions these days, when they ask a questions, my answer is, it depends.
Absolutely.
And I think a big point of, are dog parks good or bad? It depends.
Really does.
When do they work well, Emma?
I can give you a story first of all, right? One of my previous dogs, Chance, you've probably heard me speak about him, was very nervous about people and the world in general. And I did bring him to dog parks. He was fantastic with dogs. And it allowed him to move around people without feeling like he had no agency in it. So it allowed him to move close if he felt. It just wasn't that he would just rather walk away than confront anybody. But it gave him that confidence that I could not have given him in another way. He was around dogs that he was comfortable with, and then the people, he was able to maneuver around them and get a little bit more comfortable with them moving around him. And I thought for that, it was really good.
So interesting, because most people think of dog parks as being just for dog socialization. But there's a lot of other good socialization that can happen.
So what are the good things about a dog park?
Dogs get to act more naturally because they're off leash. So they get to choose that whole flight distance. How close, to your point, am I going to get to another dog? We get to see more natural body language because sometimes the equipment affects the dog's body language. And we get to just move away from the dogs and let them, to a certain extent, socialize without us hovering over them.
And depending on the dog park too, and the size, that makes a big difference. The bigger the dog park, the better.
Yes.
In the case of the bigger dogs, at least, and even with the smaller dogs, but the bigger the space and the more space you have to move around.
Definitely.
So you're not all huddled together.
We want to have that movement, that natural kind of fluidity, instead of it feeling like you've entered into a box that belongs to all the dogs that are already there.
And they also get a chance to sniff, and some dog parks have some agility equipment, and you can engage with your dog, even though you're thinking, I'm going to the dog park to let my dog play with other dogs. You can practice bonding with some of this agility equipment that might be in the park. So that's always good.
Yeah, and for people who don't have a yard, it's a way to have their dogs off leash and be safe.
Yeah.
Safe in quotes.
We'll get to that.
But in terms of, as opposed to letting them off at a field where they might get hit by a car or frightened and run off, at least at that dog park, there's a contained area.
And I also love sometimes you can meet some great people at the dog park. Oh, you can make some friends.
Especially if you go the same time every day. So it's like, for me, when I go to the coffee shop, I have a familiarity of who's there at certain times of day, and I can do my hello and recognize the people, where I think if you're going to a dog park at different hours all day long and meeting all different dogs, that actually falls more into the negative.
And I know people try and do that too. They go, well, our pals, people and dogs, go at this time. We're going to head over there at this time because they all like to play with each other.
And it can be great. I had a client with a little fox terrier puppy who didn't have a lot of socialization because there was the fear of the dog isn't vaccinated. They had come from the city and there wasn't a lot of off-leash play. And so the dog was leash reactive, but only out of joy.
Frustrated, get to the other dog.
Wanted to get to the other dog. And that's really hard to work on when you're on leash on the street. And at the small dog park, we had almost instant success.
That's great. And of course, that was under your supervision too, right? For us, we're always thinking about what the dog's needs are. And for some dogs, that's the most joyful thing to go to the park. And then some maybe not. So let's talk a little bit about the things about the dog park, and you'll hear a lot of trainers talk about they don't love dog parks.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about what aren't the things that we love so much about dog parks.
And I think it's just the inconsistency. And like Dr. Todd Mitchell used to always give that analogy of walking into a disco. People are speaking different languages, dancing different dances, all different ages. And you just want to be there with your friend sitting at a table talking. And all of a sudden you've got different people coming up, want to dance, want to dance, want to dance. And that can be exhausting for some dogs.
Of course, even just getting to the dog park, that arousal level with excitement because they know they're going to the dog park. So you're already arriving with a dog that's in a different emotional state.
Yeah. You've been gone all day maybe, and this is the dog's first outing.
And they're like, whoa, I've got so much energy and it's building up and it's building up and we're getting closer to the park and I know we're getting closer to the park. And then what happens when you get to the dog park is, and we've talked about this in other episodes too, the way the dogs group together and that dynamic can continuously change.
Yeah.
But what you see a lot is dogs that come to the gate when another dog is coming in.
Yeah.
And that's like being a celebrity, right? You're walking in there and you just have crowds of people trying to get at you. But if I was the person in the park with my dog, I'd want to call my dog away from that gate.
Definitely.
Because that's where stuff can happen when a dog is trying to get in.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, who are all of you?
Yeah.
And they're all going, we've been in here already. So we all know who we are. Who are you?
Exactly.
And that's really hard for a dog, and a dog that might have a little bit of issue, or a dog that's, oh my God, this is overwhelming.
Yeah. Imagine, to use that nightclub scene, or maybe coffee shop. I think you and I are more at the coffee shop point of our lives. I walk into the coffee shop and I've got 5 people at the door saying, who are you? Hi, what's your name? Are you coming in? Wow, that's interesting. You're wearing that? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Boom, boom. That's not easy.
It's much easier if people call their dogs back and then let that dog in, have them have a little moment to sniff, and then there's the interaction that goes on.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I will walk slowly past the big window of the coffee shop and be like, who's in there? Oh, is there a space? Okay, what's the vibe? So I will have clients kind of walk around the dog park a little bit first, not creating leash frustration, but just reading the body language of the dogs that are in there, getting a sense of, is my dog actually going to want to enter that social scene or not?
I really like that advice, because it's really important to take a moment, take a look around and see if there's one dog that's like a little bit pushy with the other dogs, and see if one is chasing the other. I always love this at the dog park. The one that kind of barks and lunges and maybe nips, everybody is like telling that dog, knock it off. Their people are saying, stop that, don't be so naughty. And it's usually that dog that's going, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming. And I'm trying to give you all the signals that I don't want to be chased. I'm going under chairs. I'm going around people. I'm saying, please stop it. And nobody's listening to me. So I'm going to have to tell you out loud.
Yeah, and that brings me to the point of, we need to advocate for our dogs. So how do you know if your dog needs help? Or how do you know if your dog is being the bully?
So we want to look at body language. And we have a lovely episode 11, Do You Speak Dog? That'll give you some body language tips as well. But we'll go over a little bit. What are we looking for, first of all?
I love this idea, and we actually used to use this at recess when I worked at schools, of green light, yellow light, red light. And you can apply that to dogs too, right? What does a green dog look like? What does a yellow dog look like? What does a red dog look like? And it doesn't mean that a red dog is a bad dog.
No.
It just means they might need more space, or they might have some intensity, or they might already be alert or stiff, or look like they're ready, like game on.
And
confrontation.
That could be breed related too, right? So we're looking at that too. We're putting a whole bunch of breeds in together.
Yeah.
And expecting them all to understand each other.
Yeah, that's the dancing different dances, speaking different languages, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would the green lights be? What would that look like in a dog?
Just that wiggly body, that loose,
just
back end, open mouth.
Just running around, like having a great time.
Yeah. Or if there's tension when another dog first comes in, that dog does the shake off, takes a breath, and
just gives a little sniff, walks away, just says, hey, come on in.
Yep.
Yeah. And what would yellow flags be then? They're in the middle ground.
You know what's interesting about the yellow dogs? I think of that as often the dog that's avoiding. And I've had clients say, oh, look at my dog's fine. They're just off doing their own thing. But that can be intentionally avoiding. And if they're avoiding, that's a sign that they're stressed, that they're not actually wanting to be in that social situation. So if they're turning away, looking away, if their back is to the other dogs or to people for that matter, that's a yellow flag.
I'd also say too, like I was talking about being chased. If they're chasing with, this one is hard to tell because if they're chasing with their tail between their legs, sometimes they can be unsure, and sometimes that's the way their rudder is
That
working.
could be like joy, like I'm aerodynamic.
That's how they're moving their body, right? But if you see a dog with their tail between their legs and they're hanging low and they're trying to go under chairs, stuff like that, saying that they're a little bit overwhelmed. It doesn't mean that they won't want to go out and play again, but in that moment they need a break, and that's where you're saying we need to advocate for, come on over here. I'm going to sit down. You can go behind my legs, and we'll send all the other dogs off on their way.
Because how many times have you seen a dog run behind a person and then the person's, it's okay, go play, and is like literally pushing on their dog
to go
play, and the dog's going, help,
I need a break.
I
really need a break.
I'd like you to stop the chase and stop these other dogs.
I'd rather just walk around with you for 5 minutes. Can we do that for a little while, and then maybe I'll go play again? So it shouldn't have to be constant play anyway. The hackles, their back, the hair on their back is all standing. And this can be both. Like this one is one of those interesting ones that you have to look at everything else.
Because that's arousal. That could be fear. That could be joy. That could be anger. It could be a lot of different things. Yeah. I often look at the mouth. Because that when I associate an open mouth and a tongue out with that loose wiggly body, and then that closed mouth and the starting to get stiff with the yellow flag. They say that some dogs are closing their mouth because they actually don't want to hear their breathing to interfere with their sensory perception of the other dogs.
That's interesting. So that moves us on to the red flag. And so that hard stare. And again, we're talking about different breeds.
Right.
Some breeds stare.
You could have a border collie staring.
Yes, you could have a pit bull staring.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean anything.
It could be a dog actually saying, come get me. Yes. Or I'm going to chase you. Or hi. It could be a dog saying, if you move again, I'm going to pounce you.
And sometimes that can happen in greeting too. So that nice greeting is the sniffing of the neck around to the butt, that kind of circular movement. But sometimes you feel like they're stuck.
Yeah.
And this is one of my previous dogs in dog parks. This is what I would worry about, is he wasn't socially aware to know what to do when he got stuck in those positions.
Stuck in the greeting sequence, Dr. Tom.
So, and everybody would get stiff. And he felt if he moved, he felt like it could start something. The other dog was feeling him going, man, you're not moving, so I'm not moving. And it just would become very tense very fast. I had to teach him actually to come out because he just didn't know what to do. And he'd get himself into trouble because the other dogs were feeling that vibe and it was lifting. So that stiffness and greeting, sometimes it can be fine, but sometimes it can create stuff. So you have to watch that.
And I think of the guardian breeds as that's a very normal greeting. Come up with the big chest and the stiff body. But for other dogs to have that happen to them, that can be threatening.
They can go, ooh, and that's when you see them going down to the ground, turning over on their belly.
Oh, yeah.
Getting really low. It's not because they're like, pet my belly. They're just going, I'm
trying to disappear
into the ground and I'm not here.
Tapping out, And
then snarling and growling, that can come from both sides, right? A dog that's going, please keep away from me, and a dog that's saying, on.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And even the husky play. There's some dogs, like Charlie, who growls to play. And people think I don't understand where that comes from. It's a poodle mix. But he talks to the other dogs to get them wound up.
I remember my last two bringing them to dog parks when they were very young. And when they played with each other, they made so much noise.
Yeah.
And people would say, wow, your dogs. And I said, they only do that with each other. Yeah. If they play with another dog, you will not hear that. But when they play with each other, they just are vocalizing like crazy.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because sometimes there's groups of dogs that meet there every day, and they've almost formed like a loose family group. I'm not using the word pack intentionally, but that's something to be aware of, because it can be hard to enter a dog park with your dog if all these other dogs know each other.
And sometimes they can gang up on that dog and make it uncomfortable for them.
Or if you see two dogs entering the dog park together, I would call that a yellow flag, especially if they're housemates, because the propensity to take care of each other.
Oh my goodness, that's a story, not dog park related, but with my last two being on a beach and we were just walking along nice and calmly, and this dog came running up to one of my dogs and was really wanting to get in there. And my other guy was like off doing something else, sniffing, but he turned around when he saw that dog come up to, I think it was Dusty, the dog approached, and Chance, who is great with dogs, came in so fast. And it was like the two of them put their fists up and said, what are you thinking now?
Totally.
So that can happen even when we walk our dogs. That dynamic can happen when you have both of them together. They are like, hey, we got this. We got everything.
And it is, and I love the movement of a dog park. I like the big dog park where people are moving. So it's not like everybody's hanging out at the gate or everybody's hanging out at the picnic table and that becomes the territory. But I have seen groups of friends walking groups of dogs in a circle. And if another dog's coming the other direction, that's hard. So being aware of that group movement.
I do love, like in Mill Valley, love is a strong word for a dog park, but I particularly like that dog park because it's so large, and there's things I don't like, which is if you had to scare a dog, there's a way out really easy. But it's a big enough space where you can move around and you're not always with the same dogs.
Right.
The dynamic is the people in a way, because people can be like territorial about the space if they go there every day.
Yeah.
And if you come in as a new person, they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Even though it's a public space.
Yeah.
They can also do things like have little cheese and wine parties. And this I don't understand, because you should be there for your dogs.
Yeah. I worry if they're not focused on the dogs in there.
And they think, oh, my dog is fine. But it's always, that should be the time where we're watching the dogs. And I mean, like, you can have your cheese and crackers, but keep an eye on your dog and what they're doing as well.
Well, and bringing food into a dog park is always risky anyway.
Yes. I always recommend don't bring any treats or anything on you, like, because you're only asking for trouble, because every lab and golden retriever is definitely going to be on you. But then you could cause conflict if you took a treat out or anything, so it's better not to have it.
Yeah, and even without food, there's people in the world who just want to be loved, right? And when I see them in the dog park just loving up on all the other dogs or winding up other dogs or wanting those other dogs to interact with them, that's hard on their own dog.
Yeah.
That's if you went into a preschool and you ignored your own kid and you start playing with all the other kids, your preschooler is going to be like, Mom, hello. And so I've seen almost resource guarding over attention that way, where dogs get jealous. So when you're in the dog park with your dog, really think about, you're there for your dog. You're not there making friends with the other dogs. That's just too hard on your
No. Unless, of course, you know them from being there a long time.
That's different.
It's a little different. The size we just talked about briefly. Now they make ones for small dogs and big dogs, and that can be helpful too. I just had a thought. The best dog parks I have actually seen was in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
They have an area in Las Vegas that there's probably 10 enclosures.
Oh, nice.
Some big, some small, like all around like this big park. So you could arrive and say, my dog just wants to play on his own. I'm going to go in here. Sometimes you get people saying, can I join you in this one? There could be the big one where everybody goes. And then there's smaller little breakout ones in different places. And I thought, what a great concept.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Because you can still have that freedom and know that somebody's going to ask you, can I join you? My dog is friendly. And you can say no or yes in certain ones. And then certain ones, the expectation is we all go in together.
Yeah. Because what people don't realize is that's still socialization. If the dogs are seeing, smelling, and hearing each other through that fence, they're still socializing. It doesn't mean mouth on mouth playing.
Exactly. You know what they even have around it is an enclosed track.
Oh, cool.
Like that could work and couldn't work if it was a reactive dog, but at least you can move in and out of it if you wanted to.
Oh, that's really nice.
So yeah, I was quite surprised. And we were just traveling through, so we were looking for some place to get the dogs a little bit of exercise.
So maybe in our free time, we could get behind having something like that built here.
Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah. I would like an enclosure for old dogs.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
An enclosure for intact dogs, because that's a hard thing that we're getting more and more intact, especially males. So that's complex. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could create something like that?
And a little bit just to go back to that, usually the intact males Are the ones that get picked on.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
By
absolutely.
the neutered
The
males.
ones without the testosterone,
I
the
don't know.
ones with the missing
I don't know
parts are
if there's
jealous.
any research on
Oh, there
why
is.
does
Yeah.
the neutered male.
Because they're threatened by the testosterone and they don't have it. Yeah,
Very
because they have
interesting.
added the smell of testosterone to neutered males and it's different. But yeah, it's testosterone literally that ignites that jealousy. We all want to smell like that. But I don't think we have the same issues with female dogs. The worst dog fight I ever had was when I had a 6-month-old intact female. And I brought her into a dog park when I didn't know any better in my 20s. And there was a male intact Dalmatian and a neutered lab male. And it was going to be till the end over her.
What did you do with the dog fight situation?
Well, that was tough. Luckily, I got my little girl and got out of there. But they had a hose there.
Oh.
And the lab owner ran over and got the hose and sprayed the Dalmatian, and he let her dog go. But
that's a good one.
There's usually some form of water, even if it's a bucket.
If there's a water bowl, throwing the water and maybe slamming down the bowl to have some reaction. You don't want to get your hands in there because you'll only get bit, basically.
And you've seen this. Unfortunately, that's that dopamine hit, Fight Club. So I've been in dog parks. There was one in the city by Douglas Park, and 2 dogs got in a scuffle, and all of a sudden 9 came from nowhere.
Yeah, because they're all, it's almost like we were talking about the siblings, like going to help each other, but it's the same thing. It's like everybody's, whoa, yay.
Game on.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So if you're at a dog park and you hear a scuffle, get your dog and move away.
And move away. And we won't go into detail about how to break it up.
That's another podcast.
But if there has been a situation, whether some dogs make a lot of noise and they don't do any damage, and then sometimes, like emotionally, there's always that. But physically, there isn't any damage, and then sometimes there is. So the best thing in both cases, even if you feel like, oh, they're over it, is, they had a little scuffle and then now they're walking around again, is just to go home.
Go home. That cortisol is up there. Even if it wasn't your...
Just say, let's get out and let's just bring that down. We don't want them to keep up in that and be walking around going, well, this might happen the next time I go around and I see that dog again.
And to that point, one of my biggest pet peeves, being a small dog guardian, is it really drives me nuts if somebody brings a big dog into the small dog area. And it's amazing how often that happens. And recently, I was with a client in a small dog park, and somebody brought like an adolescent golden retriever in who was big and saying it's a puppy. And that dog was just terrifying all the little dogs in play, like not a mean bone in his body. But really, we have to think about size differential. So it could be a lovely golden retriever and a chihuahua, all happy, joy, but the chihuahua can get hurt.
Of course, the small dog park is there for a reason, to let the smallies hang out. I wish the area for the smallies, though, was a little bigger. They tend to make it very...
Always.
I almost think when you were saying that for those adolescent puppies, it would be nice to have a space for them. But let's just talk about actually bringing puppies in there when they're new to your home. And
let's not do that. Let's just not do that. Tell us why.
Yeah, because anything can happen. So they're imprinting the world at that stage, and you're in the middle of that lovely phase of socialization, and getting them out there to experience stuff is good. But at a dog park, anything can happen. And it could be a good experience, but it could also be a bad experience that your puppy is going to carry with them for the rest of their life. So there's better ways to get that interaction with some friendly neighbor dogs in your backyard, or even I would prefer a puppy class than a dog
controlled,
park.
predictable environment.
And finding some close to us here, the shelter here offers puppy socialization time where there's a trainer present and can watch all that. It's just a little bit too risky to put, first of all, vaccination wise, but also to put a puppy in a situation where they don't know how to greet properly or anything, up in faces, they don't have the skills, and they just may get a bad imprint from something that might happen at the dog park, and it's really not worth it.
Here's a good human analogy from when I used to teach PE. I could have had a big, strong kindergartner and throw them into dodgeball with third graders, and it might look like, hey, that's okay, but it's not going to be okay. They just don't have the skills, to your point, the life skills, the logic, the social skills, the reflexes. to interact in that way. Yeah. And those third graders are going to be so annoyed by the kindergartner. Yes. That kid's going to pay.
And that's it. There's adult female dogs that are fantastic. And I love Kiva for puppies because she's really good. She ignores them and asks the people for treats. Like she really is, oh, it's just a puppy. Having just like sometimes a good solid female will give a little bit of correction, but nothing intense. Yeah. It'll just say, knock that off. Yeah. That can be okay. But if you're dealing with a dog that doesn't like dogs coming up to their face and a puppy doesn't know any better, then that dog is going to say, I'm going to have an emotional response to you doing this. And I'm sorry, but it's not going to be good because you're up in my face.
Yeah. I also don't want the puppy practicing those naughty behaviors.
No.
So where, like to your point with a neighbor, if there's one other adult dog and you're there and you can monitor the play, how often do you see a dog at a dog park running around sloppy, wreaking havoc, and the person can't catch that dog?
No, you don't have your recall at that stage.
They're on the bench anyway, like videoing
and they're
it.
Like going, I'm in this part of my brain, I can't even hear you. And it is so, I know we're going off in another section, but for puppies, I do like that one-on-one play where they're just learning a little bit from each other, and then you take breaks.
Yes. And
lots of breaks, which you can't really give them when you're in a dog park unless you leave after 5 minutes or whatever.
But you still should. I always encourage people, even if they're going to the dog park and it's the same dogs they know, certain dogs, certain breeds of dogs especially, don't know how to take a break.
No.
And it's interesting how people will say, oh, I think they're okay. And then when they actually take the break, how that other dog walks away and is, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And does a shake off.
And it's really nice to keep walking.
Yes.
I think that's really important, that just keep walking and have your dog maybe play a little bit, move with you, play a little bit like you would be on a hike. So there's movement.
Definitely.
You're not just standing still and waiting for a dog to come pee on your leg, because that happens too. Yeah. Stand still for too long.
And one thing that you put in our notes, and I totally agree, don't listen to people who just say, let them work it out. Because we used to joke that dog parks were like putting a bunch of preschoolers into a park with knives and scissors and saying, let them work it out. They can't. They need our help.
A little bit of observation of your dog, advocate for your dog, take breaks. First sign of discomfort, just get out of there.
Short, too. And I have people that go to the dog park for an hour and a half, and I'm like, oh my gosh, poor dog. There's a reason that recess is only 25 minutes.
I can also tell you about Dusty when I knew nothing. That dog, we used to bring him to the dog park for hours because he was really like big energy. But that dog also never slept during the day. So those two, knowing what I know now, is he needed more sleep in order to regulate himself. Yeah. And he just didn't know how to do that. And we thought the answer was just to keep exercising.
You created a super athlete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who wasn't able to rest.
Yeah.
So he had anxiety and all sorts of things. But that was a mistake. And we all make mistakes, right? Yeah. So we all look back and kind of go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you don't know what you don't know.
No, and that's why we want to give you some tips. So you already mentioned getting together in a yard with a good playmate match, taking breaks. I love sniff spots because for a dog that's new to socialization or a shy dog or a smaller dog, that can be a really great thing to rent that sniff spot, rent the yard with one or two other dogs. Then you don't have to worry about the unknown dog entering. And socializing doesn't have to be off leash.
No.
It can mean you're just going for a walk, even if the dogs don't meet. That's still socialization. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
And you can tire your dogs out in so many different ways now. We know enrichment in different forms, like sniffing and different locations, and even stuff you do at home with them can all be that mental stimulation and physical exercise. It doesn't all have to be, we just need to get our dog meeting other dogs and just get the energy out that way. There can be so many other things.
Yeah.
And then just a couple of more tips for things maybe not to do with the dog park. We mentioned don't have treats on you. I wouldn't bring toys. I know people bring balls sometimes, and that even can be hard if the other dog, again, Dusty was a big ball dog. So if I threw the ball for him, almost always another dog would pick it up. So I had to teach him out, which meant stay away from the dog until he drops it. So you can circle, but I want you to circle really wide and just wait for that dog. I don't want you to go in there and try and get it. And I don't know how I trained that, but it is.
I'm impressed.
But I always said to him, out. And he would just stay out until I said, okay, now we can go get it. Because he was fixated on that particular ball and wouldn't give up on it. So there wasn't any way I could pull out another one and say, let's play with this one.
And that's where a sniff spot could be great. Most of the sniff spots are between $10 and $15. Rent that, play ball, and then it's just your dog and the ball.
Having fun. And that's really what they want.
Yeah.
I do see some dogs in the dog park just moving around, not really paying much attention to the dogs. They're still enjoying it.
Yeah.
But they're just with their people and they're like, we're doing this and we're just walking around. And if you come over and say hi to me, I'm fine with it. But I'm really here with my person.
Yep. So they're good and bad.
Yes.
There's other options. They're not for all dogs. I would say developmentally, there's a time when they really serve a need. You tend to see a lot of adolescent dogs at dog parks. So that's not where I'm going to bring my older dog or my puppy. Because let those crazy adolescents get their zoomies out without trying to micromanage their play. But for somebody who lives in an apartment or doesn't have access to a yard, it can be a really nice way to have their dog off leash.
We invite you to observe body language this month, to really pay attention to, does your dog like to play with other dogs? Do they not? Do they like to just hang out with you? Are they good with other dogs? We're not encouraging you to go to a dog park, but if you already go,
can you advocate for your dog?
And if you see things and you go, oh,
yep,
just let us know. That'd be really interesting for us to hear about.
And one tip, I think people have a really hard time talking to other people at a dog park. I have really good dog trainer friends who have said they feel uncomfortable asking someone to get their dog if their dog's playing inappropriately. So then I do this annoying dog translation voice where I will say, oh, wow, Charlie, that dog did come in hot. Yep, that dog's doing an awful lot of sniffing. Oh, Charlie, I don't blame you for trying to get space from that dog. And if we can do that with a sense of humor, people will half listen to that and think, oh, she's talking about my dog. So don't be worried about being your dog's voice. And you can use a funny accent, like if it's a Frenchie. Or a British bulldog.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We definitely did.
Looking forward to hearing your stories.
Have a good month. Or have a good week. Or
have a good life. Right? Let's go big.
Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in today and hope you'll join us for our next episode. You can reach Emma at ecdogtraining.com or on Instagram at ecdog_training, and Kirsten at kwhappydogs.com or on Facebook at kwhappydogs. Don't forget to hit subscribe. See you next time.